In this video, we are taking an RC drift body that's a little too narrow, actually, and we are going to be absolutely hacking it up to put on over fenders here in order to widen the total body and let our tires tuck in. I am not an absolute expert at doing this, but I'm going to walk you through what I've learned from others over time, how I am doing it, so you can take away the good points and the bad points all at once with how I do it. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Troy. This is Roadside RC. You'll tend to find me bashing or crawling or drifting or racing, plus doing product review videos and how-tos. What I'm using here is a just generic over fender kit from DemiWorks. SRC, Sideways RC also has a kit. I can leave a link to it down in the video description. They're basically the same shape, same design. So we're going to show how I am putting these on and what the different steps are, what maybe some watch outs are and all that kind of stuff. So let's get into it. Clearly I'm already part of the way done, so let's go through some high-level steps here. The first step as you identify your parts here is to get them cut out of the overall shape. And one of the things that you want to do is you want to cut further than you think you need to get them out, and then you can slowly cut into the shape that you actually finally need. I actually thought that I had done a better job of that than I really had, even on the other side. So when I do it on this side, I'm going to cut it way out, because there were a couple places, front fender and rear fender, where I thought I had cut plenty of room, and it turns out as a universal kit fitting onto a body, turns out I wanted a little bit past what looks kind of like their mold lines. And so that's what we're going to be really careful with. I'm using a pair of Lexan scissors for this. Do recommend getting them. Even these cheapo ones like I have here seem to do a really good job. I can leave a link down in the video description to a better pair for you. Another reason why you leave it a little bit long, this is just some 120 grit sandpaper. You can wrap it around like a can, then you can come in here and you can use that to help make sure that your fenders are actually cut round. So you leave them a little bit long, and then you can use something like a can to come in. It gives you a nice smooth edge there, but then also like right here where this needs to be a little bit straighter, you can use it this direction. You can sand and smooth all those edges. It is 100% worth the little bit of extra effort to do this. It smooths out your cuts. They have a little peak right there. And I want to sand that down. Once you get them rough cut, then you can start lining them up on the body and seeing like where does it make sense. Does it need to, angle back? Does it need to angle forward? Does this bottom line up with the body neatly? Does the arch curve match the wheel? Where does it need to be anchored? Where does it continue to need to be cut? Like right here, I definitely want this to anchor up here, and I want it to mold the body a little bit, so I can hold my fingers up here. I can hold this here, and this whole piece is dangling off. So we're literally going to have to tweak this whole piece as we put it in. Something like this. It looks like it almost matches that bottom body line pretty well. I have a door cut line that comes right through here, so you can choose whether or not you're going to cut it to shape with that door cut line or not. I have to get it back maybe closer to here in order to look like it's actually kind of centered. The arch is centered on the wheel. Yeah, it's going to need something like that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep trimming this little fender here a little bit. I'm going to shape some of this other part. I'm going to just keep slowly walking it towards the shape that I think it needs to be in order to go on there. Very similar thing. The front here is much more complicated. It's a much more complex curve. It goes around a lot more pieces. I have a body line that comes right through here and up and over. So how much of this, how high up do I want it to go? Where does it align? If I put it like this, how does that align up? It covers the headlight. So what I did on this part is I actually notched around for the headlight, and I think that's going to look pretty cool. I hope it is, at least once we're all done. So again, does it line up? If I get a corner up over here, there's a door cut line right here. Maybe try to cut this to match that door cut line. Where does it need to be attached? Again, this part's really floppy, so we're gonna be literally pulling the whole thing in. But how you shape it, where you shape it, especially with these universal flares, seems like it matters a lot. Now that we're getting closer here, I've taped them on to make sure that they look roughly what I think they should look like. And then what I'm doing is coming in here and marking with this fine Sharpie here where the body lines are that I want to cut and make sure I clear. So I have the door, I have the hood cut right there, and then you can't tell, but I've actually marked around the headlight as well, so that when we screw all this back in later, it'll actually clear around those. And of course, this is one of those situations I suggest moving it around and trying it multiple times before you cut it, because once you cut it, it's done. Then also cut it just a little bit outside of your lines so that you can then come in with the sandpaper and smooth it back out. Other thing of note is I've left the spray film on the outside of the body, and that's actually what I'm marking on. I'm not marking on the Lexan itself. Now we're getting to the point of no return. So I have a little pin drill here with a 1mm drill bit in it. I can give you the link on Amazon where I got these. It works out pretty well. And then I'm going to be using some itty bitty little micro M1.2 by 4 screws. And what we're going to do is we're going to start like in the corner here, in the corner here, and we're going to drill through. I'll just go ahead and do it here because we're going to be brave. We're going to be brave or foolish, one or the other. I'm going to find this spot right here. I'm going to come just a couple millimeters in from the edge. This is a judgment call. And it slowly just drills through both the overfender and the body. This is where a magnetic tip on your super fine little Phillips screwdriver is very helpful. And then screw this together. Alright, be confident before you do this, because you're getting into point of no return here now. Now that we have what I call the edges down, I'm going to come back with the ruler and a marker here, and I'm going to mark where I want more screws. You know, typically in this kind of an application, this part is actually, it's got a gap here, it actually sits off the body, so I'm not going to screw anything here. I'm going to want some across here, and I'm going to want at least one more down here in the fender. What I first did on the other side is I marked every 10 millimeters, and that looked like it was too much. So I came back at about every 15, and that spacing looked a little bit better. Also, you can kind of do the math and make sure that that math is going to work out in your space. And for this one, I need to be just slightly under. So again, I'm going to look kind of where we are at there, make a mark. And again, make a mark, and just continue like this around. And mark out all the other places that I'm going to want to screw. Now that they are screwed in, we still need to do a final check. And what I notice here is I'm clearing the front fender fine, and I clearly need to trim that the inner fender out. But I'm hitting back here, so maybe I didn't get it centered just right on here. Maybe I screwed that up just a little bit. But what that means is I'm going to have to come through here and trim this back portion in order to allow that wheel to hit go without hitting the body. So there's still a couple pieces like that. Same thing up here on the front. I kind of thought about leaving these like, I don't know, they almost look like fighter jet panels or something. I kind of thought about leaving those points out there, but instead I'm going to cut those off right here, even with this body line. And then I think we're almost in the moment for paint. We're going to come through, we're going to sand these fenders a little bit more, make sure that how that shape looks is nice and how I want it. And then it is paint. And yes, I'm going to actually try to match this paint. I bought 3 different reds from Tamiya, all looking at trying to make it match. So it's going to be time to take these off and paint them. Now that this fender's been mounted, I need to actually trim the inner fender, the original body. I need to trim that in some in order to create clearance. So what I'm looking at is where can I trim it? How far in can I go? Still leaving, obviously I need to leave enough room for my mounting screws. Now you can see the mounting screws sticking through, so obviously that helps. We need to leave some distance there. This isn't going to be perfect, and it doesn't need to be. We will cut it out with the scissors. It'll be dramatically smoother, but it doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to be hidden underneath the new fender. And this step is important is because with the factory body and where the wheels stick out, it actually physically hits the body. The tires hit the body. So that body needs to be cut up so that the whole body can sit down further and not hit the wheels. And that's the same for both front and rear. Well, I guess that was aggressive enough to make that wheel clear now, isn't it? It's a good thing this is going to go back on to make that look prettier. But yeah, I guess if I have any issues, I could always got plenty of room that way. Plenty of room. Yep. Fender doesn't hit the tire anymore. Ah, look at me, look at me, look at the thing. It's doing it, it's doing the thing. Tire tucks in just about beautifully, actually. I thought I was going to have to adjust that a little bit. Tire tucks in beautifully. I love the little gap that we get here back behind the fender. Is it perfect? No, it's not perfect at all. But is it cool? That is awesome. On the rear, it still looks good, still clears very well, but it does look like I'm probably going to end up putting that 2.5mm shim back in there just to widen it out and tuck it right there at the fender, just for fitment. Just for fitment alone, but honestly, it doesn't look bad as it is, but the front just looks better. Ah, look at that now. All 4 corners are done. Car is looking good. I'm really happy with this. You know, I wanted to try to use a Team Associated body on this Team Associated chassis, but of course the one that I got was too narrow. So ability to get some overfenders in here, and it looks pretty good actually. It's not perfect, it never is, but as it drifts by you on the track, nobody's gonna notice. So more is coming on that. If you're curious to see it, there's a playlist popping up over here to your right about the DC10 and Drift Tech stuff, all just in general. So I hope to see you in one of those videos. If you have any questions about what I've done, please leave them down in the comments below, and I'll be happy to answer them as I can. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.